Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video we're going over a fun Yareli build. I do not see a lot of Yarelis out there and I personally really enjoy this frame. So I thought I'd share a build that I've been having a lot of fun with recently. As you can see from the background gameplay, I'm essentially just running around holding down the trigger and the result is non-stop orange and red crits, and we Warframe players like the big red numbers. If you found this video helpful or enjoyed it at all, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. Also, if you'd like to ask questions or share your thoughts, come hang out with me at twitch.tv/MikeHotz. Beginning with Yareli herself, the main thing about this build is her passive, which states Yareli gains plus 200% critical chance for secondary weapons when she has been moving for at least 1.5 seconds. This is essentially a free crit chance bonus because we're almost constantly moving in this game. So pairing this with a high crit chance secondary boosts your crit chance and crit damage output significantly. So her passive paired with any good secondary will serve as the base for this build, and then we can build around that with her mods and her abilities. Let's briefly go over her abilities, beginning with her one, which is Sea Snares. This ability sends out water bubbles that suspends and debuffs enemies, and which is helpful for immobilizing targets as well as increasing your damage output. Her 2 is Marilena, which is a K-Drive board that you would normally ride. However, I recommend using the augment for this ability, which is called Loyal Marilena. This augment has the board act on its own without you riding it, and it has two key benefits, as Marilena will send out its own sea snares, which means subsuming her 1 isn't a bad idea if you choose to do so. Also, upon activating Marilena, you will become immune to all damage for a few seconds, which can be very helpful in precarious situations. Her 3 is Aqua Blades. This deploys 3 blades that just circle around you, slicing any enemies that get close. While her 4 is Riptide. This creates a massive water bubble that pulls enemies in and increases damage per enemy pulled in. I also subsumed Hydroid's Tempest Barrage over this ability on a different configuration because I like the corrosive damage that serves as a bit of armor strip. The abilities are pretty flexible. You can subsume over any of them to fit your playstyle. I just tend to use her whole kit to complement the run and gun playstyle. For Arcanes, I begin with Arcane Avenger that can proc to boost crit chance every time I take damage. It is important to note that the damage taken has to be done to your health, not your shields, and since it's not ideal to let your shields deplete to take health damage, I pair this Arcane with Combat Discipline, which takes health away every time I secure a kill. I then also pair it with Arcane Grace, which can proc health regen whenever I take damage to help with survivability. So the loop is get a kill, lose health, proc Arcane Avenger and Arcane Grace to keep the string of health to damage to crit chance going. The shards I'm using include one yellow for casting speed, and the rest are just reds for secondary crit chance. The second main component of this build is the Riot 848 machine pistol. This weapon is a lot of fun as it has infinite ammo and the reload rewinds the rounds back to the mag. So, not needing to worry about ammo is great for just laying on the trigger. Furthermore, the reload actively damages enemies as the rounds cause an explosion when they are rewound. This creates a fun loop in which you can crit enemies when shooting them and when you reload. I modded for crit chance and crit damage. I added mods like Magnetic Might and Accelerated Isotope for the stat boost, but you can use any elemental mods that you would like. Additionally, I am using Arcane Enervate to boost crit chance even further. The rest of your build doesn't really matter as you'll be using the Riot primarily, so you can throw in stuff for leveling for MR rank or pretty much whatever you'd like. With all the components discussed, let's see it in action again. The playstyle, as mentioned before, is run and gun. You can quite literally just hold the trigger down and slay out, simply specking for crit chance and crit damage, and sprinkling in some abilities for more crowd control and damage boost lets you have an effective, low effort build that shreds steel path enemies and most content. One thing not shown here is my companion. I'm using Worm Prime. You can use whichever pet you would like. I do recommend using Tenacious Bond and making sure your companion's weapon has at least a 50% crit chance, as this will translate to an additional 120% crit damage increase for Yareli via Tenacious Bond. Not 100% necessary, but we are going for all the crit chance and crit damage as possible, so I do recommend it. I also occasionally use my Panzer Voltiphyla for spreading viral, but like I said, this is a player preference situation, so just use whatever you would like. And there you have it, a low effort, high efficacy steel path build that is very flexible to player preference. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts on this build. Did you try it out? What would you change? Also, feel free to let me know what your favorite build and frames are. And as a reminder, you can always find me at twitch.tv/Mike Hobbs, Tuesday through Saturday evenings. Stop by and say hi. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.